Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real today. See, when a man sees that you have moved on peacefully, oh, it shakes him in a way nothing else can. See, a man expects you to be broken. He expects tears, late night calls, bitterness, and maybe even a little public drama. That's what he prepared himself for when he walked away. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about something real today. See, when a man sees that you have moved on, not with anger, not with noise, but with peace, oh, that does something deep inside him. It surprises him. It unsettles him in a way nothing else can. Because the truth is, most men, when they leave, they expect destruction behind them. They expect to see you stumbling, struggling, brokenhearted, maybe even desperate to get them back. They prepare themselves to see that. They expect the late night calls, the emotional breakdowns, the tears flooding your pillow. That's the story they wrote in their head when they walked out of your life. But when they look back and instead they see peace, they see calm, they see you glowing like nothing ever touched you, that shakes them. See, a man is ready for a fight, he's ready for drama, but he is never ready for your peace. He doesn't know how to process that. Because peace says you didn't just survive, you thrived. Peace says you didn't crumble, you rebuilt yourself stronger. Peace says his absence didn't end you, and that's when his mind starts to turn on him. That's when the questions creep in. Because now he has to face the truth. Maybe he wasn't the center of your universe like he believed. Maybe you had more strength, more resilience, more self-worth than he ever gave you credit for. And that realization, that's heavy on a man's heart. See, when you're angry and loud, he can handle that. He can call you bitter. He can say you're stuck on him. That fits his ego. But when you're peaceful, when you move on gracefully, when your silence speaks louder than any words, that's when you become unforgettable. That's when he starts scrolling through your photos, noticing that glow in your smile, that light in your eyes. He starts wondering, how does she get even better after me? How is she laughing like she never even knew pain? And ladies and gentlemen, that's the power of peaceful growth. Because peaceful growth is not about pretending you didn't hurt. It's about choosing not to let that hurt define you. It's about waking up every morning and saying, I choose me today. And every time you do that, every time you choose peace over pain, every time you choose your future over your past, you take back your power. And the man who thought he broke you, he feels that shift. He feels it in his chest when he hears your name and realizes there's no chaos attached to it anymore. Just peace, just progress, just power. And let me tell you, that peace, it lingers in his mind. It becomes that quiet echo that follows him around. Because deep down, every man knows that a woman who can heal in peace is a woman who cannot be controlled. She cannot be manipulated. She cannot be pulled back into the same cycle. And that's what unsettles him the most. Not your anger, not your pain, but your calm. Your ability to rise without making noise. Your decision to grow without making announcements. Your strength to move on without looking back. That's what stays with him when the lights go out and he's left alone with his thoughts. So when he sees you at peace, when he sees you shining brighter, living louder, and loving deeper without him, that's when the regret creeps in. That's when he starts to feel that quiet discomfort in his soul. Because now he has to face the truth. He didn't break you. He only set you free to become everything you were meant to be. And that kind of growth, that kind of peace, that's the most unsettling, most unforgettable thing a man will ever witness. Ladies and gentlemen, let me paint this picture for you. A man leaves thinking you're going to fall apart. He expects to see you broken, lost, maybe even desperate. That's the story he comforts himself with because it makes walking away easier. He tells himself, you'll always be there, waiting in pieces, because in his mind, he was the best thing you ever had. But when time passes and he looks back and sees that you didn't fall apart, that you didn't collapse, that you're still standing strong, that's when the regret starts creeping into his chest. He starts wondering what went wrong in his little story, starts questioning how you could possibly glow brighter after he left. That's the moment when his confidence cracks, when his ego starts to feel the weight of reality, because regret doesn't show up loud. It comes quietly. It comes in those late nights when he scrolls through your pictures and sees that light in your eyes. It comes when he hears about you moving forward, winning, smiling, loving life like you never skipped a beat. And suddenly, he's no longer the man who thinks he had control. He becomes the man haunted by the fact that you healed without him, that you found peace instead of pain, that you didn't fall apart like he thought you would. And trust me, ladies and gentlemen, no punishment hits a man harder than realizing the person he thought he broke is now shining brighter than ever. Because here's the truth. Moving on peacefully is the most powerful thing you can do. Revenge might feel tempting in the moment. You might want to prove a point to make him feel the pain he caused you. But revenge keeps you chained to the same story, to the same person, to the same hurt. Peace, on the other hand, sets you free. Peace is where your real power lives. Because when you choose to move on with grace, without bitterness, without turning back, you send a message louder than any angry words ever could. You tell the world, and you tell him, that your worth was never tied to his presence in your life. You tell him that his exit wasn't your ending, it was your beginning. And that kind of power shakes a man to his core, because he can defend himself against your anger. He can dismiss your pain, but he can't ignore your peace. He can't escape the reality that you are glowing without him, that your happiness no longer includes his name. And every time he sees you rising, every time he hears about your progress, that regret grows a little deeper, that discomfort settles a little heavier in his chest. Because now he knows he didn't break you, he built you. He didn't destroy you, he made room for you to rebuild, stronger, wiser, and more beautiful than ever before. So while revenge might satisfy you for a moment, peace will elevate you for a lifetime. And when he sees that, when he sees you didn't fall apart and you didn't waste your energy trying to hurt him back, that's when he feels the real loss. That's when he understands that he didn't just lose you, he lost the chance to stand next to the woman you've become. And no man ever forgets the woman who chose peace over pain, who rose higher while he stayed stuck in the past. That's the kind of regret that lingers, the kind that visits him when he least expects it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the real victory. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get real about something that happens every single day. When a man walks away from a woman, Deep down, he expects her to stay emotionally stuck. That's the part most people won't say out loud, but it's the truth. He thinks he has that kind of power over her. He believes that when he leaves, her world is supposed to stop spinning. He expects her to sit there replaying every conversation, questioning her worth, wondering what she did wrong. That's the story he tells himself because it makes him feel big. It feeds his ego. He imagines her crying into her pillow, checking her phone for his name, maybe even watching his moves on social media, secretly hoping he'll come back. That's the version that makes him feel like he's still in control, like he's still the center of her universe, even in his absence. But here's where the game changes. When that same man looks back and sees that you didn't stay stuck, that you didn't collapse the way he predicted, it hits him in a way he didn't prepare for. When he sees you walking taller, smiling brighter, living fuller, that peaceful glow of yours starts to disturb his peace. Because men can handle a lot of things, but they're never ready to see a woman they thought they broke moving on in silence with grace and power. He can handle your anger. He can deal with your pain because that still ties you to him. But your peace, that's a whole different storm in his mind, because peace says you're free now. Peace says you're no longer waiting, you're no longer chained to his memory. And that's the one thing his ego can't swallow. See, when you glow up without making noise, without trying to prove a point, that's when you become unforgettable. Your peaceful growth becomes the punishment he never saw coming. He expected drama. He expected you to fall apart, maybe even beg. But when you choose to heal, to build yourself, to rise without looking back, that's when regret starts creeping into his heart. And it doesn't come loud. It comes in the quiet moments when he's alone with his thoughts. It comes when he sees your face glowing on someone else's arm, or when he hears about your success from people he never expected. That's when he realizes that while he stayed the same, you evolved. That while he thought he left you in pieces, you turned those pieces into a masterpiece. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, that glow up, that's the sweetest revenge. Not because you set out to hurt him, but because you set out to heal yourself. Not because you wanted to make him regret it, but because you wanted to find peace. And in doing that, you end up giving him the kind of punishment that sticks, the silent kind. The kind where every time he sees you shining, he's reminded of the fact that he lost something valuable, something rare, and he can't touch it anymore because your glow is no longer for him. It's for you and the world that sees you now. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a real conversation about what happens when a man sees you've moved on peacefully. Because when a man leaves, believe me, he expects you to stay stuck. He expects you to sit in the middle of your pain, crying, overthinking, frozen in time while he moves forward. That's the script his ego has written for him. He imagines that you're replaying every word, every argument, trying to figure out what you did wrong, hoping for another chance. That version of the story makes him feel powerful, like even in his absence, he controls your emotions, your peace, your next steps. It's not love driving that thinking. It's ego. And it feeds on the belief that you're emotionally trapped while he's free. But when he looks back and sees something he didn't expect, that's when the shift begins. When he sees that you didn't stay stuck, that you chose peace over pain, that you started blooming instead of breaking, that's when his comfort starts to crack. Because men are prepared to handle your tears, they're prepared to handle your anger, even your revenge that fits into the box they built in their minds. But when you respond with calm, with grace, with a glow that comes from inner peace, that's unsettling. It forces him to face a version of you he can't control, can't dismiss, can't label as bitter or broken. Your peaceful growth speaks louder than any words ever could, and it makes him uneasy in a way he didn't see coming. And then comes the regret, because a man doesn't regret leaving when he sees you fall apart. That confirms his belief that he mattered too much for you to survive without him. But when you don't fall apart, when you stand taller, smile brighter, and live bigger, that's when his confidence starts to crumble. It doesn't hit him all at once. It creeps in when he sees your photo and notices that light in your eyes. It sinks in when he hears your name, and it's attached to stories of success and joy, not heartbreak. Every time he sees you winning, every time he hears about you glowing without him, that regret grows heavier. Because now he knows the truth. He wasn't your end. He was just a chapter, and you've moved on to write a better story. That's when your glow up becomes his silent punishment. Because you didn't have to shout, you didn't have to fight, you didn't have to seek revenge. You just healed. You grew. You focused on building the best version of yourself. And in doing that, you gave him the one punishment that lingers the longest. The silent realization that he lost someone who turned out to be even more powerful without him. That glow you carry, that peace you wear like a crown, becomes the reminder that he can't escape. Every time he sees you, it's a mirror showing him what he gave up, what he'll never get back. And that's a weight no man carries lightly, but it goes even deeper. Your peace doesn't just unsettle him, it makes him question his own worth. Because now he's faced with the uncomfortable truth that he didn't break you like he thought he would. And if he didn't have that kind of impact, if you could rise without him, maybe he wasn't as powerful, as important, as irreplaceable as he believed. That's when the self-doubt starts creeping in. That's when he begins comparing himself to the life you built without him, wondering why your light shines brighter now than it ever did when he was around. Your peace becomes the standard he can't reach, the reminder that while you grew, he stayed the same. And no man likes to confront the reality that someone he thought he controlled has outgrown him, evolved beyond him, and found happiness that no longer includes his name. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of choosing peace. It doesn't just free you, it forces him to confront parts of himself he was never ready to face. Your growth, your glow, your calm strength, they become the echoes in his mind long after you've moved on to greater things. And that's a story every man remembers, even if he never says it out loud. Ladies and gentlemen, when a man walks away from a woman, deep down he expects her to stay emotionally stuck. That's the quiet thought he carries when he turns his back. He believes that your world is going to freeze, that your heart will break into pieces, too sharp to ever put back together. He expects you to be sitting there replaying every conversation, doubting yourself, wondering if you were enough. His ego paints the picture that he mattered so much that your life will stand still without him. That idea makes it easier for him to walk away, to tell himself he had that much control, that much power over you. But that's just a story he tells himself to sleep better at night. If something happens that he didn't prepare for, he looks back and sees you growing, not breaking. He sees you choosing peace, not chaos. He expected storms. He expected messy heartbreak, but what he finds is a woman glowing differently, living freely, carrying herself with a new strength that he cannot touch. Your peaceful growth unsettles him because he never expected it. He doesn't know how to process the fact that you heal without the drama, without the noise, without needing him. That glow in your eyes, that new power in your steps, it shakes him because he realizes he is no longer the center of your emotions. You have placed yourself at the center. And that's a move he never saw coming. Regret starts as a whisper. At first, he tries to ignore it, but it grows louder with every passing day he sees you thriving. It creeps in slowly when he checks your social media and sees your smile untouched by sadness. It cuts deeper when mutual friends mention how good you're doing, how peaceful your life looks without him. He didn't expect that. He thought you would fall apart, lose yourself, stay broken long enough for him to maybe come back if he ever changed his mind. But instead, you were proof that not only did you survive, you became more. And nothing weighs heavier on a man than seeing that the person he thought needed him actually needed his absence to become their best self. Your glow up becomes his silent punishment, not because you did it to spite him, but because you did it for yourself. You didn't seek revenge. You didn't waste your energy trying to prove him wrong. You simply healed quietly, powerfully, beautifully. You rose higher without noise, without shouting your progress from the rooftops. And that kind of silent growth becomes impossible for him to ignore. Every success, every smile, every new door that opens for you serves as a reminder that he is no longer part of your life, your peace, your story. And the regret he feels grows deeper every time he realizes he underestimated you. And then the doubt starts. Your peace forces him to question his own worth. Because if you're thriving without him, if you found your glow after he left, what does that say about the role he played in your life? He starts to realize that maybe he wasn't the prize he believed himself to be. Maybe he was the lesson. Maybe he was holding you back emotionally. Maybe he was holding you back in every way. And that thought, that realization chips away at whatever pride he had left. It's not your anger that haunts him. It's your peace. It's your silence. It's the clear, undeniable truth that you built a better life without him in it. And finally, it hits him, the harshest reality of all. He didn't just lose you, he lost access to the best version of you. He sees it now. He sees that the woman you are today is stronger, wiser, more beautiful, and more powerful than ever before. And he realizes that while he was busy expecting you to stay broken, you were busy building a version of yourself that he can no longer reach. You were busy becoming the woman who doesn't look back, who doesn't shrink for anyone, who doesn't need validation from the one who walked away. And once a man realizes he can no longer access the best parts of you, once he understands that his chapter in your life is truly closed, that's when the regret turns into a lifetime echo, a quiet reminder of the woman he lost because he thought you would stay stuck when you were born to rise.